Baseball probably started here during the Civil War. There were some Union soldiers stationed here, and it's probable that they played each other.
Union soldiers, as well as the Confederate soldiers, played the game during the Civil War, and they taught each other the game. And so when these units of soldiers broke up, they went west, took the game with them, and played all the way across the West, all the way to the West Coast. So the Civil War had a lot to do with the spread of the game, including in Wichita.
But shortly after the Civil War, it became an organized activity, and there were leagues that included nearby towns. There were games within Wichita among professional groups. For instance, the doctors played the lawyers at one time in ball games. There was indication that the cowboys who came up the Chisholm Trail played when they got in town, including at places like where the Epic Center is now.
But it stands to reason that those who settled here in the 1870s brought the game with them, and there are still old-time baseball organizations that play games at Cowtown every summer, trying to show what amounted to town ball looked like. It's a little different than baseball as we know it.
The Old Cowtown Vintage Baseball Club features two baseball teams that resemble the Wichita Red Stockings and the Wichita Bulldozers from the 1870s. The game was a little different back then, with players not having gloves to wear or polished fields to play on. In 1887, the first semi-professional Wichita team was formed, the Wichita Braves. The team ended up playing only one season.
Wichita had a team that played in and won the Kansas State League, but it was a very short season, so at the end of that season, which was midsummer, they joined the Western League, which was one of the oldest baseball leagues, and in fact, that version of the Western League became the American League. But it was a much better rated league than the Kansas State League, and Wichita really did not do well in that league. So there was a long hiatus before professional baseball came back shortly after the turn of the century. That league was called the Kansas State League. The Pittsburgh, Kansas franchise was moved to Wichita and operated successfully. The team called the Jobbers played 4 years in that league and were good. They won it one time, they were second twice, and third the other time. So they were always a contender for the league championship.
In fact, the 1907 team has been recognized in the 100 greatest minor league teams of all time.
After that, the team rejoined the Western League.
A lot of these leagues came and went, but in the course of the late 20s and early 30s, particularly under the influence of Branch Rickey, there were a lot of minor leagues developed to find talent, develop talent that would eventually go to the major leagues. And the Western League was one of those earlier leagues that had been created as a professional league in the Midwest.
Some of the most notable players included outfielder Joe Wilhoit. At the time, he set the record for the longest hitting streak in baseball history. Archie Vaughn, who went on to become a shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates and Brooklyn Dodgers, was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1985.
A lot of these teams, as I understand it, played what we would call barnstorming league. They played around pickup games where they could find a team to play and play, for the gate, the money that could be made by the gate. And so teams came and went from these leagues regularly. And so it was hard to build a schedule, keep the schedule, keep players. So it was a tough go for a lot of these lesser leagues that were developed in the Midwest.